In this video, we're going to be looking at the idea of surds and the rules involving surds. All a surd is it's a square root which cannot be simplified into a whole number. So here's an example, e.g. root 3 is a surd, but not root 4. Root 4 is not really a surd because root 4 is just 2. Okay, and there's basically two rules that we need to know about surds that most questions rely on. The square root of a times b is the same as the square root of a times the square root of b. And the square root of a divided by b is the same as the square root of a divided by the square root of b. So these are sort of our surd rules. Let me just put the button on that. These are rules. All the questions that we do are going to rely on these. So let's have a look at just a couple of basic examples. So first of all, what happens if we have we're asked to simplify root 2 times root 8? Well, just looking at the first surd rule, root 2 times root 8 is the same as root 2 times 8, which is the same as the square root of 16, which is 4. Okay, simple example. Another example, simplify root 90 divided by root 10. Well, now we're going to use the second rule, the root a over b rule. Well, root 90 over root 10 is the same as the root of 90 over 10, which is the same as the root of 90 divided by 10 is 9. The square root of 9 is 3. Okay. One more sort of example that's useful to know. You might have a question like e.g. simplify the square root of 250. And when you're trying to, what simplify here means is make the square root as small as possible. What is useful to note is if there's a square number that divides into the thing that's been rooted. Well, we know that 250 is the same as, well, it's 50 times 5, but it's also 25 times 10. And 25 times 10 is very useful because 25 is a square number. So we can write 250 as 25 times 10. We chose this again because we found a square number, 25, which divides into 250. And now, using our first surd rule, this is the same as the square root of 25 multiplied by the square root of 10. And now we know the square root of 25 is just 5, so this is the same as 5 root 10, which is where we finish this question. And that's seen as simplified because our square root now is square root of 10, which is a smaller square root than the square root of 250, which we started off with. Okay, so let's look at a slightly different and more difficult surd question. So here's our question. Express root 8 plus root 18 in the form k root 2 for k an integer. So what this means is we're going to use surd rules to rewrite root 8 plus root 18 in a different form. And the form that we want it in is k root 2. So we want everything to be in terms of root 2. Well, root 8, because 8 is 4 times 2, root 8 is the same as root 4 times 2, which is the same as root 4 root 2. And since root 4 is just 2, this is the same as 2 root 2. So we've written root 8 in terms of root 2. We'll do the same thing for root 18. Root 18 is, well, we want this in terms of 2. Well, 18 is 9 times 2. So we're going to write root 18 is root 9 times 2, which is root 9 times root 2, using our surd rules. Root 9 is 3, so this is 3 root 2. So now, combining these two things, root 8 plus root 18 is just 2 root 2 plus 3 root 2. And now we have 2 root 2's plus 3 root 2, that gives us 5 lots of root 2. And this is in the correct form that the question asks for. K is 5. Okay, and let's just do one more final example of a question involving surds. And the question is, again, another simplified question. Simplify root 3 plus root 12 squared. Okay, so this is the same as, we've got a bracket squared. This is the same as root 3 plus root 12 multiplied by root 3 plus root 12. I've just rewritten that. We can expand, so now multiplying out two brackets, there's lots of methods. One is to use FOIL. Root 3 times, we get root 3 times root 3. We get plus root 3 times root 12 plus root 12 times root 3 plus root 12 times root 12, just expanding brackets in the normal way. Now, root 3 times root 3, I mean, we could use the surd rules if we wanted. This is the same as root 3 times 3. This is root 9, which is 3. Well, that's pretty obvious. The square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is just 3. The square root of 3 times the square root of 12 is the same as the square root of 3 times 12, which is, well, let's just write this out in full for now. We get 3 times 12, and the next one, we get the square root of 12 times 3, and then obviously root 12 times root 12 is just 12. Okay. This is 3 plus root 3 times 12 is root 36, plus root 36 plus 12, and this is 3, root 36 is just 6, so 3 plus and another 6 plus 12, and 3 plus 6 plus 6 plus 12 is 27. So by knowing our surd rules, we've simplified this quite complicated looking square with two square roots in it, and it's turned into a nice simple number, 27.